Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven.
The first discovery we can investigate is the location of Gomorrah.
And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace.
Ron Wyatt claimed to rediscover the ruins of ancient Gomorrah, the actual place where God rained down fire from the sky.
I decided to go check out some of his findings firsthand. One finding in particular, because if true, for me, it would be sort of a smoking gun discovery, and that was the location of Sodom and Gomorrah. Ron had claimed to discover this location in, I believe, 1990, and his discoveries were quite shocking. Architecture, brimstone, sulfur balls, the whole 9 yards. But no one in the Christian community seemed to ever talk about it. I don't know, I had to check it out for myself. So I went on his website, and using only this map, I made my way to the supposed location of Gomorrah. As you can see, I wasn't working with a whole lot. The road we took to the Dead Sea spit us out right around here, and then we traveled up the coast until I eyed a piece of white, ash-colored land where the map suggested Gomorrah would be. There was no parking lot or anything, no tourists, or anyone for that matter, just a two-way road up and down the coast of the Dead Sea. So we pulled the car over and just started walking. Right away, a large ziggurat-type structure greeted us. Hey, look, it's me. You can see from the picture that this is still the entrance of the city because you can still see desert plants. And we know from Deuteronomy that no grass or seed will ever take root there. Well, sure enough, as we entered the city, hey look, it's me again. No grass or plants made their home there. You could see straight lines in the walls of the city where houses or other architecture used to be, and you could even see more ziggurat-type structures at major intersections. Although I didn't notice it firsthand on my trip since we only had about a few hours to explore, and you'd probably need about a few days from what I saw. But when I looked at this photo, I noticed in the background other symmetrical type structures off in the distance, and nature just doesn't do that type of thing. All the walls of the valleys were decorated with this swirl-like pattern. It was beautiful to look at, like heat had melted different layers of rock and stone together. But beautiful as it was just dust and ash to the touch. All these structures and ashen remains were great and all, but I still didn't have that smoking gun evidence that I wanted. I needed more evidence. I needed to find the sulfur balls that Ron claimed to be scattered all about. That would be my smoking gun. Only then would I be convinced that this was in fact the remains of that sinful city that God poured his judgment on thousands of years ago. Sure enough, I found more than a dozen small balls of sulfur scattered about. This is what's left of my personal collection today. I've burned some to show friends and family, and the smell is, well, horrifying. I can only imagine what it must have been like when these balls in their pure form came raining down from heaven on those lost cities.
That's a good sized one. Still going. That's sulfur. That'll burn right now. Just put a lighter to it and it'll burn till it's gone. Pretty neat stuff. We're gonna set it on fire so everybody can see it burn. See it turning yellow, and it starts melting, turning black. Watch.
And it's
burning. Still burning. And pretty soon it'll start running down the wall.
Away from the Dead Sea, it is still possible to find today the remains and ruins of the destroyed cities described in Genesis 19. Although the locals consider these remains to be sand dunes due to 3,500 years of rain erosion, Archaeologists like Ron Wyatt and Jake Wilson have discovered evident man-made structures in the area in the 1990s. Formations such as ancient houses, gates, temples, statues can still be spotted in the area. As opposed to regular sulfur, this pale white form of sulfur can only be found in the ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah. It cannot be found in any volcanic area or any mineral museum. Supporting the Genesis account, geothermal activity has never been recorded in the region, so these brimstones could not have come from a volcanic eruption.
Just one touch. I didn't even see the sulfur on my finger. Look at this blister. It was so hot, it was indescribable.
This is absolutely staggering. We've traveled the Holy Land. These are the believed sites of Sodom and Gomorrah. There is some discrepancy as to where they might be, but the evidence is so overwhelming that right here, this is where Sodom and Gomorrah is. I have been absolutely impacted and impressed by this. It's just, I mean, right now I just feel just a sense of awe over me right now as we're here. And as we have discovered in these areas a brimstone, and they're like balls. And this brimstone is totally different than any other place on the planet. Most other brimstone, and I should mention brimstone is synonymous with sulfur. So brimstone is kind of the old word for sulfur. So we have found sulfur balls all over in these city areas here, and it's unlike any other sulfur on the planet, as I mentioned. They're white, and they are about 90 to almost 100% pure.
This brimstone is made of monoclinic, white sulfur that has been burned or cooked at a high temperature. It is quite different from natural sulfur that is formed in geothermal areas. Samples were taken to a lab for analysis. Each specimen was carefully separated and prepared for testing, with the outer portion cast aside. Next, the samples were dried and placed in a rock crusher. Then they were pressed onto a disc. Then they were loaded into a machine for the semi-quantitative X-ray analysis. Each sample was individually transported into the testing chamber for analysis. The results proved to be quite amazing. As the samples were found to be 98% pure sulfur, unlike any other sulfur found on Earth. This pure, cooked sulfur is the heavenly marker that was left behind to show the world that the Lord, without a doubt, destroyed these sinful cities at His command. Critics have said that the sulfur is from volcanic activity, but that type of rhombic sulfur is only 40% sulfur and is of a crystalline form, unlike the white, compacted monoclinic form that is found in the ashen cities today. Here is a round piece of brimstone embedded in a section of ash. Another clump of ash contains a piece of brimstone that has a burn ring surrounding the unburned sulfur inside.
Considering the Bible describes this as being once like an Edenic area, you see nowadays it's just completely dead, as we are told. happened to this place that was judged. Today it's completely dead. Nothing is growing here. The whole thing is like sponge. I really want to find one of those sulfur stones before the sun goes down. I really want to find one of those stones to show you. That is not a normal shape. That doesn't look natural at all. That is definitely seems to be a man-made shape. And is this not enough evidence for people to find all of these man-made looking structures, ashen remains, crumble in your hands, in the location where we're told in the Bible as evidence of God's judgment, as described by Josephus, historian, but then also finding circular, almost pure sulfur balls in the middle of the ash, in the middle of the walls and the shapes of the buildings. Is this not enough evidence for us to see that A, the Bible is true, and B, God is a just God and we need a saviour? Because sin requires punishment. Sin brings on the wrath of God, and this place is the evidence of the wrath of God, a holy God who is righteous and true, and this place was very rebellious.
Now, whether or not you've heard of this discovery before, I want you to think about the fact that nobody talks about this. Why is this information so suppressed? Something that Lotan said that resonates with me is there was nobody there. There was not even a tourist attraction or anything. Dude, if the LGBT community knew, if this was widespread information, and if everybody knew that Sodom and Gomorrah was real and God actually wiped out the city, why do archaeologists not look into this? What are they looking at? If they're not looking at this, where it's directly in your face, what are they actually spending their time on? Lotan said there's nobody there. Dude, this thing has been discovered since 1990. That's 31 years ago. Come on. There's no archaeologists in Sodom and Gomorrah with all this video evidence after 31 years. That's the world we live in. The truth is suppressed.
For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. But he that doeth truth cometh to the light, that his deeds may be made manifest, that they are wrought in God.